How's it going? My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT, and we're back with another episode of Elektron Talk, episode 41. Today's stream is sponsored by Friendship and Sunshine. So if there's any sunshine or friendship near you, you're in luck, because they're paying me in joy right now. So an excellent sponsor for the stream. Let's go ahead and crack open one of these guys. It always like plops over some tasty soda onto my hand, which I leave there to cool me down because it's like 1 billion degrees out in Seattle right now. So today what we're going to do is we're going to go over a track that I recently released. A bunch of folks were asking me in the comments section to do a track breakdown live on stream. I mentioned it on my Patreon, so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go over the track that I wrote. It's a jungle track at 173 BPM using the almond break re-recorded. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure that's what it was. It's almond break re-recorded. It's definitely an almond break that I used. So I built it around an almond break. Almond, not almond break. The almond break. Amen. Jesus Christ. Sound like a crazy person. Okay, I'm going to switch cameras over here. So this is what I performed it on. I'm going to play it out. I'm going to play it for you, most of the track. I started writing a second pattern to go along with this jungle track. And I don't usually write jungle. And that's because for the most of the time that I've used the Digitakt, it didn't lend itself to that kind of music. So slicing on it was a real pain in the ass, and time stretch on it still totally sucks. I'd say the warp machine on the Digitakt is pretty much just a strange effect that you can use when you want to. I think the old school way of doing time stretch on the Digitakt continues to be a better way to do time stretch, which is using the LFO to the start position. And the same way that you do time stretch on old samplers and on the Dirty Wave M8. But hello, if anybody's here, let me know if the audio levels are good. That'd be great. Hopefully the stream here is public, so other folks are welcome to join. This is an earlier time than I usually stream. I usually stream at like 7 o'clock. What's going on? Oh, Channelite. I don't know if I know you. Welcome to the stream, Channelite. I usually stream at like 7 o'clock on Sundays, and I've been trying to do it a little bit earlier because I've been getting done at like 9 o'clock at night, which is really late for East Coast people, and like just about when I think people in Europe are starting to get up, I believe. Maybe. I don't really know the time zone stuff. But I do want to go over this track, so I'm going to play it out for you. As you can see, I did the slicing on the Digitakt. Let's switch over to a cam for that. So here's the Digitakt cam. The lovely, lovely Digitakt. And, whoa, it's not at the right spot. Those lines are there for a reason. The Digitakt. So slicing on the Digitakt. Slicing on the Digitakt is whack. Like, it's totally doable. So the way that I set up the breaks on the Digitakt, and I'll play them for you in just a second, or I can play it for you now. So that's the breaks that I sliced. My dog's going crazy. Hopefully it stops in a second. Slicing on the Digitakt, not great. And that's because you can't move the start position of the slices. Like, you can't move the slices around. You're stuck on a quantized grid. And that's not the end of the world, really. So this almond break is at 173 BPM. And so that's what I'm playing at. So what you have to do on your Digitakt is you have to pre-set up your breaks. So if you have a 4-bar loop, which is, I believe, which is what this is, then, or maybe it's just a 1-bar loop. No, I think it's a 4-bar loop of an almond break. So 4 bars for the sample here. And then you create a slice grid, and the slice grid will work perfectly. And that's really all there is to it, because that's all you can do. It's a really simple setup on the Digitakt. And we'll do something, we'll grab an almond break and do it from scratch. Before we do that, I'll kind of, the dog's bark was part of the break, yeah. Dog breaks, that's the new thing that we're doing on this channel, is dog breaks. I'll play this track for you, like quickly. I won't do like the whole live version, because the live version I'm like trying to improvise and make the track last a little bit longer. I wrote this song right before I went to play a show. Played a show with Jeremy Blake, Jay Hosking, NRF, and Arya Bear a few days ago at one of the Modbang events, an event that I put on every month. And it was a great, great show. It turned out just awesome. Such a spectacle of different kinds of music. If you were at the show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It turned out really well. So I wrote this track, so I wanted something to be really exciting for when I started playing. And I wanted to open with something new that no one had heard from me before, because I play pretty often. It's a lot of the same crowd coming to the shows, a lot of hardware geeks, and I like to have different music for them because they keep coming to the show, so give them a reason to keep coming back. But let me play the track out for you a little bit, and I'll talk through it. So the track opens up with the almond break that I chopped up. This is what the almond break's chops look like. This is page 1. So it's pretty all over the place. And there's trig conditions all over on the breaks, and some of the chops go for multiple slices in length. That's one of the great things about the way that slicing works on the Digitakt, because they mimicked what you can do on the Octatrack. It's way better on the Octatrack, don't get me wrong. Slicing is 1,000 times better on your Octatrack than it is on the Digitakt, but you can absolutely get the work that you need to get done as long as you prepare for it. Because these almond breaks are labeled with the BPM that they are played at, I'm just using that BPM and writing music around those breaks. And that's what I recommend you do on the Digitakt if you're going to be doing slicing. Otherwise, on the Octatrack, you do have a pretty decent time stretch on here. So as long as you're not time stretching it by like 40 BPM or something, you're not going to have a bad time. Like, it's going to sound pretty good and definitely usable. However, it will be a little granular because it's not perfect, and the time stretch algorithm is 11 years old at this point. Unless they updated it during one of the years that the Octatrack's been around, but I don't think it has been. Jeremy Jones says, how do you deal with sample management on the Digitakt? So I purge samples that I'm not using. I go in and I do the purge setting and I purge them out. And I only load samples on so I treat the Digitakt like a drum machine. I don't treat it like it's my only sound source. So it's full of one-shots and a lot of my favorite one-shots. So I'll reuse a lot of the same drum samples. I'll just change their settings, like their envelopes or how much overdrive they have or any sort of filtering. And so I get a lot of mileage out of not that many samples. So I don't feel like you need to change your sample for every single song that you made. Like, I don't need 1,000 kick drums in here because I've made 1,000 songs. I could use the same, 50 kick drums across 1,000 songs. Like, no one's going to know the difference. So I kind of like approach it that way, and I delete stuff. If I think it sucks, I delete it. So I'll go through just like random purgings and get stuff off, because it is only a gigabyte of samples that it can hold, but they are mono samples, so they don't take up that much space. Yeah, glad that makes sense. All right, let me perform this track out for you. I'll do it so you can see all the stuff that I'm doing. I'm using my Octatrack performance template, the newest update, 1.5. It's basically the same as the original one or the one that I've released before that, except for I locked all the scenes on here so that when you're changing to different scenes, this isn't 1.5, but I'm just demonstrating it. This is my personal template, so I can't update my template every time I do an update for the template, because I have to go in here and reprogram all my music. Like, I'm not going to do that. The idea of the templates is that when you pick it up, you're starting from scratch with that template and you work moving forward there. So when new people come in, it's a good idea. But if you have a Chic MIDI controller, you can plug that into any version of the current Ultimate effects templates, and it will just work right off the bat. So grab a Chic and have a lot of fun. It's really great to integrate. But let me go. Let me play the song. So it starts off with a breakbeat and a chord sample. I actually use this program called Scalar 2 in Bitwig, and Scalar just like has a million chord choices that you can choose from, and it has them all in different keys, and you can just play some notes on a keyboard and it will tell you what key you're in. So if you make a riff that you like in Bitwig or Ableton or whatever, it'll detect the key that you're in and give you a bunch of chord selections, and you can invert them and then play with them in the MIDI, the MIDI roll, keyboard roll, piano roll, a pizza roll. That's what we really want to play in. But so I used that and I created a few chords, a chord progression. I can show you that too. So this is actually the original chord progression. Let me just do this and I'll make it so you can actually hear the whole thing. So this actually turned into this. But I came up with the chord progression using Scalar, and then this is a Bitwig synthesizer. I wrote a 4-bar loop in Bitwig that was at 173 BPM. That's very easy to do in your DAW. I plugged, I didn't do anything special. I just went to transfer with the file, and I transferred it onto my Digitakt in 2 seconds while the project was open, and just placed it right on this track, and then went to work. So I had an almond break, and I had that chord sample from Scalar 2. I do like Scalar 2, I think it's cool, and I love any sort of application that helps me find and arrange chords. I think that's very useful, and I love the hybrid workflow. Like, I'm not a DAW-less musician. There's nothing wrong with the idea of DAW-less, but I don't consider myself a DAW-less musician. I love my DAWs, especially Bitwig. Then I like Ableton a bit. I love Bitwig. I think Bitwig's amazing. So I love the idea of taking stuff from my DAW and just quickly getting it into the Digitakt. I could have used Overbridge or something, but it's just easy for me to go right into the bounce file in Bitwig, drag the file right into transfer, and then bam, it's right in here. No worrying about setting up Overbridge, dealing with VSTs or any of that kind of stuff. What's going on? More folks. What's up, Bluma? How you doing? Hysteric subjects. The other way for DT sample upkeep is saving space. Turn all process samples you intend to keep and use into sounds. That's a really great tip by Hysteric Subjects. Good idea. All right, here we go. So this is supposed to be more filtered. Whoa. Whoa. There's definitely a whole bunch of screw-ups in there because I didn't practice before I played that. But also, when I brought in this sound, those big pads from the Digitakt, I had bumped my tune encoder. So they were down here like this, like totally out of key. You probably noticed it. I did function no and reloaded it, and that fixed it. So, it wasn't perfect. That's not what I want. That's not what I wanted, but it was close enough. You get the idea, right? So there's 2 patterns to the song so far. This one's a lot more frantic. This is a lot more cheerful. It's a really, really fun track. It's a really fun kind of music to play live, I'm realizing. So anyway, I hadn't been making that kind of music in my setup because the Digitakt sucks at making that kind of music. But if I just build the music around a break that's already prepared, it's not such a big deal and it's a lot of fun. So now let's kind of like go over this track. Let's break it down a little bit. So the track starts with just these 2 sounds. Oh. And we already talked about the chord progression. The chord progression came from Scalar 2 and Bitwig. So this is the polysynth native instrument that's in Bitwig, sampled, transferred over. And then over here we have the almond break re-recorded. It's at 173 BPM. My Octatrack's playing at 173 BPM. And then chopping the breaks and doing the whole composition for breaks on here. Like I can't go through and just like explain all the breaks and how I set it up because it was a meticulous crafting experience. You know, it took several hours to craft the breaks. The rest of the music came very quickly. Doing the acid line, the kick and the snare track and the hi-hat track. Well, let me talk about that. We have those tracks as well, but the breaks track was by far the most expensive on your time. And I think it always will be that way when you're making jungle or drum and bass music, is that you're going to spend most of the time working on your breaks, making them sound cool and interesting and unique. And, you know, if you do it right, it sounds so good. But, so let's talk about it a little bit. So you can kind of like, I'll go over a little bit of the breaks on the first page here, because this has got the most interesting part of the music. So that's how long this break is playing for. And it plays across these first 4 steps right here. So this break plays across here. These are parameter locked on 2 of 2. So the second time it passes, let's see what this one's on. So it's not on anything. So this, when it's only just this first step, it's just a kick, right? And this is just a kick as well. So it's a copy of this, and then this is stepping down in pitch. Half note down, 2 semitones down, 3 semitones down, 4 semitones down. So it goes. But it's happening so quickly. Let's just listen to the second pass of this. There's also an 8-bar pattern. So we're about to hear it. So that's kind of like, I think that part makes the track stand out the most is when it comes to the second 8-bar part of the pattern. So on bar 9, this happens. And then before that, we have this, or at the very end of the first 8 bars, we have this lead up. And then a reverse. So this is a really fun part too. And I had to like sculpt it, and I did some panning so that they bounced around your head as it went back up, and it kind of sounds like it's running back up the steps with the track, and then it goes do-do-do-do-do-do back down the steps really quickly. And it makes for a really fun rhythm. But the really fun part of the track kicks in when we drop the acid, which is on track 9 of my MIDI track, which is playing the TB03. And the TB03, what I love about the TB03 is that it's consistent. It's always in tune, sounds really great. You can't really tell the difference between it and an analog synth. ACB technology and Roland is spot on. They did a really great job. They put a lot of money and time into it, and it really works. And you can send MIDI messages to the TB03 to do all the functions that you need in here. So for instance, on this track, we're looking at the TB03 track here. See how I have the velocity turned all the way down here? Actually, we can switch back over to this for now. I have, or maybe the top-down view might actually be better. The velocity on the Digitakt is turned all the way down because velocity is tied to accent on the TB03. So actually, if I turn the velocity up, it'll accent every single step, and that won't sound good at all. So you turn the accent all the way down, and then I don't know where I have it locked in accent, or even if I did I lock it in accent? What I do know, I use the TB03 in so many of my tracks, and I don't always use the accent. But what I can say is that you need to turn accent down. So you need to turn velocity down when you're MIDI controlling, when you're MIDI sequencing the TB03 from an Elektron box or any other box for that matter, because if every step is accented, they all sound not right. Because the way accent works on here is it like mildly opens up the filter cutoff and opens up the decay envelope and makes things like hit harder and a little bit louder because of that. So you don't want that to happen all the time because you lose a lot of your control of what you have on your TB03. So make sure you turn that down. Then also, you can, if this was on send 102, CC 102, I don't know why that wasn't on there. I guess I wasn't doing any slides in this particular part of the track, probably because it's moving so quickly that slides kind of sound a little goofy. But CC 102 on here, if I turn that on, we can actually do slides on here as well. So you have accent and slide for the TB03, and that's why I always use this with this setup, because it just works. They work together really well. It's not too big. It's a little chunky. So it's a bit bigger than I want. I have a dream of making a TB03 that's like a daisy chip or something, and like an anodized aluminum box like this. It's just a digital oscillator with an analog 24 dB non-resonant filter and a MIDI input, and that's all it has is that filter cutoff, accent, and it can receive slides and stuff. I feel like I could probably do it myself if I had the time and energy. I could just have that built and manufactured, and I think people would really enjoy that. So this is the acid bass line. What I'm doing is I have the chord progression, and I start with, I'm all the way engaged on this space scene, which the space scene has a bunch of the frequency content filtered down. So it has a low pass filter, and it slowly opens the filter over 4 bars. Check this out. It's a great way to open. Like, I love this, like, starting a track on this scene in my performance template. Especially with this kind of music. So that brings us to the next part. We have our acid bass line, we have our breakbeats, we have a really fast hi-hat. In the hi-hat track, these in-between steps, I have them with their volume brought down quite a bit, and I have the envelope closed quite a bit so that the hats are really just like little ticks. And this kind of makes it, you know, feel a little syncopated with the rhythm, makes them sound a lot nicer. I can just mute these so you can hear it. That's the hi-hat track. Nothing too special. Here's the kick and snare track. I don't need to explain much of the kick and snare track. There's some parameter locks. There's no fill conditions in it currently because I didn't have time to build those out yet, but. So this is the drum pattern without the breakbeat on it. So I use this kick and snare track to accentuate the breakbeat track, and same with the hi-hats here. It's really easy to get lost in this because it's actually fun to do. Nothing like having fun when you're making music. Digitone's doing nothing. I want to point that out. I'm using my Digitone less and less. I'm an advocate for all things Elektron. Don't get me wrong. I really am. I'm pretty in love with the Elektron workflow. I know it really well. It's so easy for me to sit down and make music. I'm still inspired by their gear. Like, I'm still inspired by the sequencer. There's still more stuff for me to learn. Like, I haven't even learned it all. There's still ideas I haven't worked on. And just to talk about this for a second, because this is like one of the first times that I've really fleshed out a jungle track and been like, yeah, this sounds really good. I didn't really know how to make jungle before making jungle that much. Like, I didn't study it or anything, and I don't have a background of making jungle or anything like that. But I know how to use these machines. I know how to use the Elektron boxes, I believe, really well, because I've been using them for a really long time, and I teach them pretty regularly to people, like several hours a week, and have for a couple of years now. And because of that, because of my understanding of these machines, I feel like I can kind of tackle any sort of music genre. And I think that's how it is for anybody who sits down and learns anything. Like, you learn the push 3 really well. You can make any kind of music on the push 3. You just got to follow some of the simple key ingredients to get it done. You learn your DAW, you're going to become a badass at your DAW. You can make any kind of music on there. Same goes with Elektron gear. Same goes with the Dirty Wave M8 tracker. And really I guess the moral of the story is practice, 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 is what my mother would say. She has like a sign in her art room. She's a painter. And it just says, practice, practice, practice. And I agree with her. It really is. Just sit down and practice. And that's kind of what these live streams are for me, is just sitting down and practicing. Hey, look, I'm over here now, practicing with a bit of an audience, which really is to keep me company, because I get a little lonely working on music, I guess. I don't know if lonely's the word, but it's that same kind of experience. Or I don't know if you grew up with any siblings, or if any folks in this chat that are here now grew up with siblings and playing video games at a young age. For us, we would rent a regular Nintendo from the video store. And that's growing up, we would rent regular Nintendos, we'd rent VCRs, and that was a huge deal. I was 10 years old, we go rent a Nintendo. Nintendo hadn't been out very long. We're playing Metroid, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, the one that's pretty much impossible. Mario Golf, Mario World, the classics, right? And my older brother would play, and I would watch my brother play. And that was really cool for me as a young kid. And then as I got older, my little sister would watch me play. And there's something inspiring, and it makes you enjoy the game more because someone's watching the game with you. Someone's there with you. That's what I love about streaming. That's kind of what I feel like this experience is we're kind of all playing the game together. We're going to see how this turns out. That's not what this stream is about today, but I'm just talking. We're just talking. We're just hanging out. It's Sunday afternoon. Hey, speaking of hanging out, LaCroix, hang out with me and hang out with my bank account and sponsor me. What was that? Some sort of ice? I could be such a good little sponsee for you, LaCroix. LaCroix. I love your drink. I drink it all the time. I spend a lot of money on it. I think if we all email LaCroix, or whoever owns them, they're probably owned by Coca-Cola or something. Maybe if we all email them, they'll finally sponsor me. Eye of the Beholder 123. Yeah, right. Ninja Gaiden, so hard. Yes, video store rental for the weekend when parents went on date trips. That's what I'm talking about. That puts you right at my age, I would say. If you're 40, turning 40-ish, you know what I'm talking about. Renting, well, I mean, you probably, even if you're a bit younger than that, you probably were renting Super Nintendos and Sega Genesis. Sega, we didn't rent as much. I really liked Nintendo games quite a bit. And Sega had way more violent games, so I always wanted to play them, but I think my parents were less interested in us playing ultra violent games. Yeah. Almost 3 o'clock in the night here. Ay, 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 Frankie Digital. All right, let's get back over to it. I want to keep talking about this track. So we got the breakbeat over here, we got the acid on the 303, the two together, really fun. We're playing at 173 BPM, super energetic. Originally, I just threw down like 4 on the floor for my kick drum. Then I kind of augmented a little bit. I think did I put a trig condition on here? No, none of these even have trig conditions. This is just the kick drum pattern. It's across, I was gonna say, is it across? No, it's across 4 bars. I work in 8 bars a lot, so I like often have to go and check and see if like I've changed the resolution down to, you know, a smaller resolution so I can fit more steps on one page. Yeah, and then we have the snare pattern, which is also fairly simple. There's some trig conditions with it. I think this is doing a roll. No? I don't even remember. What are you doing? Are you doing something? No, none of these are doing rolls. It's just trig conditions. Or it's just panning. Dissecting my own track, because I really, you know, how can you memorize all your music like that anyway? So the kick and the snare are just accentuating this breakbeat, and I felt like it really needed it. The bass line, I think, is really important. The bass line's really simple. It's coming from the Digitakt over here. And the bass line is really, like, let me take a look at these. So it's just F sharp 4, D sharp 4. There's 3 notes in this bass line, and they're just like bouncing back, and it's a really bouncy sounding bass line. I'll show you. Out of here. But in conjunction with this, just the bass line and the drums. And it's totally sick on its own. It doesn't even need anything else. So bouncy, so bouncy. Then you add those jazzy ninth chords, and that's what that is. It's a bunch of ninth chords on top of that, and it just sounds so cool. I love like big 9th, 11th, 13th chords. I mean, I love them all, right? But those chords really speak to me. I love jazz and jazz progressions, and any way I can incorporate that into my music, I will. It's really hard to incorporate it into the Digitakt because you have to sample, and like we talked about it earlier, sample space on the Digitakt is a really, you know, limited real estate there. So you could do it on the Digiton, but honestly, like, I'm just using my Digiton less and less and less the more that I incorporate Syntakt into my music production, and I'm using less and less sounds and spending more time making precise adjustments to sample locks on these trig pages. So I'm getting more real estate out of, or I'm getting more, I guess real estate, whatever. I'm just getting more out of a track instead of having an overwhelming amount of plucks and notes and all sorts of crazy shit playing all over the place. 'Cause the Digiton does that really well with its, but you can't get away from that tinny FM sound, and I do like that analog sound, and even though this only has a couple analog tracks, it provides me with the tools that I need to make most of the music that I make. Don't get me wrong, I'm still using the Digiton all the time in my music production. I'm just using it a lot less. I often am only using like 1 track now. And I only use a few tracks on the Syntakt. Like, we're not using 12 tracks on here for my music. We are using probably almost 8 tracks every time on the Digitakt. So for the most part, I'd say like when I'm writing a song, this song included, or this, like this techno track, this is the end of the techno track. It's like big build up. Let's see here. This is mostly Digitakt. You can see it's going nuts over here. But there is a pad playing, and there's percussion playing on the digatone. But the rest of it's all Syntakt, like 4 or 5 tracks. Anyway, we can dive into that song on another day. But we're going back over here. And I started writing a second pattern. We went over most of the song. There isn't that much to it. It's a breakbeat, a kick, a snare, a hat, a bass line, which is doing a really soft bass, a really basic bass sound, which is, I like basic bass sounds. I also really like thick Reese basses too. I have a Syntakt and you love it. Yes. What up, Doug? I'm glad you like your Syntakt. Proper jungle chords. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I also really like using this keyboard fold and the quantized scale mode. I will write accidentals, which is when you go out of your scale. I'll write accidentals into my music, but I'll start the bass line or start a melodic track using a keyboard scaling. And all 3 of these machines have this ability. So I can write in scale so easily without having I can go find a scale that I've never used before in here. It has so many different scales, and I'll play it in a key. I won't stay in C. I'll go, this is in D sharp Dorian, so D sharp minor, and I'll go play in a scale I haven't used. And I love that and how easy it is to, you can just throw your fingers down on this keyboard and it's going to write a melody for you and you just quantize it. It's a piece of cake. That's what's so fun about this, is that the exploration is sometimes you just mash in buttons, just have a good time and turn it into music later. Layer a couple together. Set 2 tracks to each MIDI channel to set one high, another low, and pinch them using a bandpass filter so they don't occupy the same space. I'm not sure what you are referring to. Or maybe you're talking to somebody else. For 2 octaves, a lot to be said for 2 octaves, Matt. Yeah. I do. I actually was talking about that I have this plan, right? I have my other Octatrack over here, and so my idea is to take this Octatrack, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this is going to be like breaks or something, or kick, snare, hats, and a break. And this is going to be like vocal sample, or bassline, sorry. Bassline, chords, vocal sample, and whatever. Leads or something. And then I'm going to cue all of these and have it set to cue muse track, take the cue output, put it into input C and D in the performance mixer, and take the drums output, which would just be the mains, and put that into inputs A and B on the performance mixer template, and then just use these 2 machines with nothing else. And I think that would be an excellent setup as well, because then I can do all sorts of weird shit to my samples with scenes on here, and then do performance scenes over here. And so I'm excited to explore that. The only reason I haven't is because I do so much online teaching that I always have to have this set up and ready to go, because it's always on one of these 4 machines for the most part. Sometimes I'm doing like Dirty Wave M8. Sometimes I'm doing Bitwig. That's a lot more rare than me teaching on this, because I teach on this shit all the time. And so I kind of always have to have them up. I was thinking about going to Home Depot and buying a board that I would just slide underneath here and then just unplug the output cables, or just unplug all the cables, I guess, all the power cables and audio cables, and just lift the board up and set it down. I figure that would actually be a workaround so that I could put something else on the main cam right here for folks to try out. I don't know. But yeah, that's the whole jungle track. But this is the second pattern that I started writing, and it's a bit more frantic. And that sound is that physical modeling engine, that the toy engine that comes on the Digitakt. I love this engine. It sounds so cool. It's such a great engine, but I thought this sound really complemented Breakbeats. Again, a bouncy bass line. So one of the, let me just talk about this setup for a second and why I love my current setup and why it's so hard for me to change it, including having the Digitone here. Even though if any piece would go, honestly, in my setup, it would be the Digitone, and I would replace it with another multi-timbral synth. The one I really want, Melbourne Instruments Nina. I want it very much. I wish they would contact me and say, here's one, make a video or something like that. But they haven't, and they probably won't. The thing's like $3,000 something. But one day, maybe I'll get one, save up for one and buy one. But that's what I would put right here, which would make this setup kind of big. Anyway, I get distracted so easily by these thoughts. What's going on is I have the 303. It's routed underneath here using my Elektron risers. There's a light under there, which just makes this look so cinematic and pretty. But these risers that I make, the Modbang riser, and which you can get from my shop. And there's a code if you want to get 10% off. It's riser23, all one word, 10% off the risers in my shop. Same with the Roland Boutique riser that I have. Anyway, that's the commercial for Modbang. Buy Modbang everything. It's the best stuff in the world. So the 303 goes underneath here. That's how I can fit all this underneath the camera here. Goes into my Digitone. And why I love that is because the Digitone has more more effects for audio that you bring into it than any other machine other than the Analog Heat Plus Effects. We have chorus, delay, and reverb. So I just leave it on the mix channel here. It's always at 34 is the volume. I turn the volume up on the 303 all the way because it's not going to distort coming out of this machine. Like, they have got it all dialed in. It doesn't distort at its max volume. But it would distort at this max volume and that max volume. So I keep this volume at 34. You can see your values in certain windows by just holding down the window on your machine, which is nice. So if you're ever trying to copy stuff over, you just hold it down. I'm using function because this menu requires you to hold down function to do this. But I can put chorus on my 303, delay or reverb, all synced, and all works with the mix because it's the same reverb from all these other machines, so it sounds perfect in the mix. So I love that. This is sequencing that. I love sequencing from the Digitakt specifically because the MIDI tracks are always exposed, unlike the Digitone, unlike the Octatrack, and on here we have to sacrifice one of your machines to sequence the MIDI. Not a big deal considering there's so many tracks and I'm not going to use all 12 in this setup, so I could do it over here, but I already work on the Digitakt so much and I'm fast on it that I just keep all the sequencing over here. But then I have my Digitone and it goes into my Syntax audio input, and you can do the global setting, which I have turned off right now because I was doing some different adjustments for my music, but for the most part, you can use the global effects setting and just turn on the external mixer and lock that in right here, and your mixer settings will stay the same throughout your whole project. And I always work in one project because I think it makes the most sense to just build as many songs as you can in a project that you're working on. So yeah, so this goes in here, which gives me access to the Syntax effects track, which I love, right? So if I want to do sidechain pumping on the effects track, I can do that here, and it will sidechain the Digitone. I can do sidechain on the Octatrack too. That's a part of my template. You go into track 5, LFO section, it's depth 1. I can even show you. You can hear it ducking. But it ducks this side, so all the synthesis can be ducked, which works for ducking. The whole idea with this setup is to emulate kind of like being able to multi-track. So everything is bussed. Drums are on one bus and melodies on another bus. And I think that works really well. Like it does. I think it works really well, especially with the performance template. So this pattern that we're listening to right now, this second pattern to the other jungle part of the jungle track. Sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm actually exhausted right now. This second pattern is not fleshed out. I wouldn't consider it done or like something that I don't even know if I'm going to keep it. Let's see. I do like it. It's those chords, the dan 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 is like, it's either like really good and I really like it, and then sometimes I'm like, I really don't like it and I want to go back to the prettier ninth chord sound. I mean, those are still using the same ninth chords. I'm just adjusting them by a few semitones to get those step down sounds. I don't know. I'm going back and forth with it. But let's load up a break on the Digitakt on a new pattern, and let's cut a break up and see how it sounds. I don't do it that often, so I'm not going to be like a ninja at it and be like, this is how it has to be done, dude. Do it any way you want. I'll just show you doing it on here. So I'm going to do it on track 8. We'll just unmute all this stuff. As you can see, we got no music playing. We're going to go into the Digitakt, and I'm going to find an empty spot. Not many left. Or we can switch over to the Digitakt cam. Digicam. So I'm going in here. I've got this empty spot right here. I'm just going to hit yes and go into, I think is it in incoming? No. In library, Breakbeats. Look at all these lovely breakbeats we have. You can hear this one is processed. Okay, I like this one. All right, there we go. 172 BPM, very close to the track that we were already working on. Let's just move this to 172. And now, at this point, we should just be able to put down a trigger. And if we have this trigger play, I'm gonna do 8 bars. So I'm bringing the scale down to half scale. If I had this set for, let's see, we can have this set for 8 bars. It doesn't matter. I could have it loop like it is, and then it should just work. Right? So that's just me putting down a breakbeat at the correct tempo. No slicing happening here yet, nothing. And I parameter locked it so we could just hear it all the way through. So I'll turn that off. Function, source, or double press here. and you could go into... I also do want to point out that if you're on the warp machine, we could actually leave it like this, and we could bring the tempo down. Oh, whoops, we got to make this trigger go really long again. So the warp machine, not the warp, I'm sorry, repitch. If you're on repitch, you can put in any sample at any BPM and it will play. So if you put an almond break in on repitch and you don't intend on slicing it, you can just have the break play behind there and it will work just fine. But that's not what we're gonna do. We're gonna be at 172 and we're gonna go into the slice machine here. And I'm gonna have it do 64, or 64. I'm gonna have it do 16 slices. And let's just listen to the first slice. That's enough right there. Should we just go with that? Just go. That's so goofy. All right, I'm gonna turn off. We're gonna just have it play forward. So let's have it. We want to build a CR break. I think this is really useful. You can do this slice with the keyboard, and that means that different notes on the keyboard are gonna play the slices. I'm not using that so much. I am just kind of dialing it in by hand and saying slice 1. It's pitched up. Let's bring it back down to the right spot here. So now this is it. This is where it gets tricky, is like, so how long does the slice play? Do we have it play through 2 slices? Well, if you have it play through 2 slices, but you don't have your trigger length the right length, it's not gonna play long enough. So here's it playing for an 8th note and through 2 slices. Yes, this is all set up how I want it to. There we go. It's not even making it into the second slice here. Or no, it is. It's playing over 2 slices. So here's it playing over 1 slice. 2 slices. So it could be like, all right, we like that. Maybe we just mess with that for a second. We could even bring this down to just 16 steps and go with the normal scale. The 1x scale for the time being. Just go. And start working from here. And then find another slice we like. I think it's good to actually just, on a default level, instead of holding it down and setting your trig length, just do it on a default level and just set them all to 1/2 for the time being. Just so that, or you can even have it play for longer. That way you can determine how long it plays by the slices and not by how long the trig length is, and it just gets in the way. You could even just set it on infinite if you want, because the slice will cut it off. Here we go with the retrig. Sounds pretty good here. So we find an initial pattern that we kind of like, and then we move forward from here. We could copy it. We could copy the page and go to the next page, even though it auto copies it over. But if we had those pages all set up already, and then we could go function page, paste them in. So now we have 2 pages to work on. Make this one start somewhere else. Maybe move this one over. Actually, kind of like that. Add a retrig to this. Maybe we only have... Oh, I really like that. So let's move to the next page. Page 3. Maybe we go like this. Take this trigger, which is playing that kick in the hat. And we could take it and go paste a couple of them down. And we could do that step down trick. Step them down. Go down 3. And we could even copy the last one, paste it over. I like, so a lot, when I'm doing this like repitching stuff on any of these machines, I love the idea of how I can go, okay, this one is going down a half step. I can go copy, paste it. Now this one's already down a half step and I just move it down one. Whoops, move it down one, copy, paste it, and move it down another one. And do the same thing here, paste it, and then go down one more. And now we have this step down, and it's very easy to remember. You don't have to do any thinking. You don't have to do any like quick maths. Then we could have this one play in reverse. Actually, don't want this one to do that. And now we can move on to the next page. So here we are on page 4. We could take one that we kind of like already. Like maybe we take this one and double that one. But we don't have it play right away. Use a trigger condition. Maybe go 2 of 2. Change these slices to like hats or something. Pan these around. Give that one some reverb, right? There we go. Maybe throw a kick one back down right here. This is a really quick and dirty break chop on here. I kind of like that part right there. So now we could go over and throw down like a kick drum on top of this, because that almond break is honestly not enough for me. So I could just play. Yeah. I kind of like the snare right there. Let me see if I move it. We'll revisit that later. Let's go over to the kick track, throw a couple kicks down. I don't even want that one there. Let's find a different kick. I kind of hate that sound that it makes. Okay, we could go over here and we could throw some acid down on here. Just go. Just throw some random notes in. Bring that velocity down. Send 102. Oh, whoops. On this. So now we have slides. This is our slide value right here. What's pretty cool is that if we don't like this break, we can actually switch the break out right now. Like, this isn't even a problem at all. So we can go in here. We're using Amen 172. Function yes takes me right back into the folder. Whoops. We could try this one. We just got to change the tempo to 175 and it will work. Have to make this one go a little bit longer. Let's try this one, 167. I actually like this better. bring the volume down on some of the breaks. We could throw a hat down. Pan it a little bit. We could throw down a... see how this sounds. Nah. What notes did we use here? The E, the G. Well, so far we could do this in C major if we want. Or A minor. I guess we could do A minor. So I have an idea. Let's find out, let's look at these kicks and let's map our bass line to match these kicks. So we have 1 on 1. So let's just put a trigger down on 1, trigger down on 12, trigger down on 13, trigger down on 1, trigger down on 1 and 9. Oh. It'd be kind of cool. Let me see. I wish you could just tell the Elektron boxes to play back a page. Like, if I could hold page down and hit play and it just plays through the page. Wouldn't that be dope? Tell me that wouldn't be super dope to just to be able to play page. But instead this deletes the page. That sucks. Let's have like, no, let's move this one over here and have the LFO go to the volume. What am I thinking? Volume. And we'll go like, yeah, I guess we'll do that. We'll do square waves. And then yeah, I like that. Let's see what happens when I do this. Chord sucks. What was I doing here? What's happening here? I think this needs to be here. Do I want this to be a kick slice? I like the little gaps of silence in there, especially when the other sounds are in here. Maybe I'd have that. How was it play it through? So hard. FM sounding. It's such a pain in the ass to do chords on here. Maybe we go into chord mode. What are we playing in? Dorian, A4. There we go. Maybe that's why. Whoa, 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 whoa. Just go chord mode on. Patch sucks. Okay, I want some of this. Get out of this cord. God damn it. Come here. I want to go in here, and I don't want to be on chord mode. Okay. Maybe we need to go in here and... Oh my god. It's kind of nuts. Okay.
We can just have this spoken word type stuff. Just. This is the word. But you know that you died like. Think I need something like this.
on. Come back and it still sounds amazing. Oh, yeah. How's it going? I getting lost in the sauce again, as per usual when making some tunes. Like I want a drum fill. I want to be able to go. Grrr, grrr. I want to play these drums. Let's copy. Fill condition. Fill. Paste, paste, paste. Paste, 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 paste. Wait. We got to give these some automation. Maybe even detune a little bit. Copy. Yeah. Paste. Ah! What did I do? Paste. 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 Nope. Hope I didn't overpaste that. I did. This is so stupid right here. How did I land on such a lame sound? I actually really like that bass line now. Oh my god. I'm torturing myself. Let me just pick a freaking sample. It's gonna make my mind explode. We'll find something in the recorded section. It's kind of cool. Approved by the FDA. Hey. This is Other Pitch. Just a boy, just... So these are all samples that I sampled into my Digitakt. Everything crazy, everything crazy, everything crazy, everything crazy, everything. Oh, if we could get that pitched right, that could be really cool sounding.
Everything crazy, everything crazy. Everything, everything crazy, everything crazy, everything crazy, everything crazy, everything crazy, everything crazy,
The last part can't ring out. Just those two, just for 8 steps. That's what we want. Let's try it out. Maybe they don't go. We gotta try them out when the chords are playing too. We'll just use this. feel like some sort of swirly pad sound. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, over here. Do some like. Yeah, we could do that. See what happens. I feel like I've gotten really far, and now I have to go because I'm gonna go to a movie. But this sounds pretty fun. I feel like I'm gonna keep working and fleshing it out. What it's missing right now is like a really ambient sound. I think like a big ambient wash. I think something like this would help. If you could see me pulling this over here, something like the Mood Mark II would be really helpful here. I don't know. There's definitely a lot more work to be done, but I think we settled on something pretty cool. Yeah, maybe leaving some of the breaks out, you mean? At the end of the bars? There definitely needs to be more air in there. That's kind of like I kept adjusting the bass line because I felt like it was feeling too busy. Yeah, I feel like the breaks could be, let's just do a copy paste really quick. The breaks could be like we're looking at like this doesn't always have to play. Let me see. What it needs to be is that I wrote this breakbeat pattern in 1-to-1 64 steps, so it's a 4-bar breakbeat, but it really should be an 8-bar breakbeat. That way I can have more variation in it and put some openings in the breaks. So I agree with you, hysteric subjects, and I hope to see you at the next Modbang. All right, I'm gonna go. Thanks everybody for hanging out while I chop up some more breaks on the Digitakt and just write music in general and hang out and chat. Appreciate everybody who was commenting. Antipital, what's up, dude? My boy Antipital's here. I didn't notice you were there. Sorry about that. Yeah, you guys are great. And I'll see you next Sunday at 7 o'clock. Join the Discord. Join the patreon.com/EZBOT if you want to get this performance template I was doing all this cool stuff with this track. Music like this, the template is very fun. If you go to the party section, so part 4, that's where all the glitchy effects are. They're really fun to play with at high BPMs. Probably the most fun. If you go into part 1 and play with doing some techno, part 1's perfect for techno. Part 4, awesome for breakbeats and stuff. So highly recommend you check it out and write some really fast music and have a great time. But I'll see you guys next Sunday. Thank you so much. Take it easy.